How you doing? I would like to share with you a testimony regarding my ministry work with Hispanic people and mainly in the Niagara region and abroad and short-term missions. So this is from my online ministry portfolio. Many of you who are watching this would be looking at our ministry history, Carlene and I, and how that's relevant for your hiring process. And so this is basically part of my resume. And so I found this to be also very it was reminiscing was very special. So going through this is going to be fun for me. So it all started at a multicultural center. I remember the first summer break in Bible college in my first year. I was in 2001. I was there as an adult student, and I'd recently been saved, and I was looking for purpose in ministry. And the Lord led me to apply many different places. Now, I didn't get any jobs anywhere I wanted to. All the doors were closed except for one at a multicultural center. When I got the job, I was hired as the assistant to the settlement officer. And that meant that I had to help people on their first day in Canada, get them lunch, get them food, get them in their apartment, stuff like that. That was pretty awesome. But really, what my job morphed into was the day camp supervisor for all the kids because they would go to ESL classes during the day, the parents and the families who were newcomers. And there was probably like good 50, 70 people at the center in Welland, Ontario on Main Street, I do believe. And they would be upstairs learning English and they were nervous and they were going through a lot. But their kids were kind of carefree. Most of the kids were learning English too, but they were better at English and they were kind of the translators. I learned that people learn a lot when they have less stress. And so the kids were, you know, carefree and they went been through a lot, of course, but they were children, right? And they had a positive attitude, and some of them were swearing a lot. So I had to figure out what they were saying. So they started teaching me Spanish, and I found one kid that was a teacher's pet. So I love these kids, and I was like every day we'd play soccer, and I was an energetic sort of young guy at the time, and that was really I guess I am still, but nevertheless that was fun, right? Now I invited this kid and his dad, my teacher's pet, to our church in Welland, Faith Welland, and they came, and it was really awesome. Over the months that went by, toward the end, I went in the bathroom one time in that center, just taking a break. And I just felt the Holy Spirit draw me to prayer, and I leaned my face right up against the wall, like it just left all the sink and everything behind me, and I just put my face against the wall. And I started to pray. I said, "Father, would you start a Spanish church in Welland?" I don't know why I prayed it, but I just prayed it. So I went off to school again for my September semester. When I was when I was there, I kind of thought, well, I guess that's that. I prayed for a Spanish church, but what will ever come of it, right? So I thought it was over. Um, Now, when I went back at Christmas break, our church was full of Hispanic people from that center. That one guy and his father invited all his friends, and they all started coming to our church. There was a sizable population, and some people who had been doing Mexico missions at our church started to do small groups. One lady named Juanita actually learned Spanish, went to Niagara College and learned and took a Spanish course just to do these small groups. Over the next 3 to 4 years, a church was actually planted, pastored by a guy named Sergio, and I've lost track of them, so I don't know if they're still in operation. But they went on for a good, 10 years, as the last thing I remember, and that was in the Baptist Church in Welland. They had space, so that's a wonderful, beginning to something, and I didn't really know what. So I continued to go to college, and I came back the next summer, and I was the student pastor at Faith Tabernacle, Faith Welland, right? And I mean, what do I do there? So I worked with the young adults and stuff, but they learned that I did some Spanish ministry, and so we started doing an outreach to farm workers in the Welland area, Fenwick, and Niagara on the Lake, right? So that's what I did, and we put on a banquet for them. We brought them stuff, foods, clothes, all that necessary stuff, and just preach the gospel to them, give them Bibles, and I continued ministry with those in the multicultural center. So at the end of my summer, we had a very large banquet, and probably about 300 or 400 Hispanic newcomers and visitors from Mexico, farm workers, and that was really cool. So we bust them in, bust them back to their farms, and that was a neat experience. So that the year I got kind of upset because my church was going to Mexico, and I thought, well, look, I'm doing all this work with the Hispanic people. Why can't I go, right? And then there was a spot on the mission team, and the youth pastor who was running these missions year after year, since like before I was going to college, even he approached somebody else to take that spot, and I was thinking, wow, here I am on staff. I'm part of this ministry team, why not ask me? Like it's right up my alley. I would love that, right? So I didn't go, but I did. They did host a team from Mexico because one would go and one would come, and we had this relationship with a couple churches down there. And so when the mission team went and they came back excited, happy, as naturally they should. And we received a team from Mexico. Well, I got to host that team for a day and a half, and there was a certain girl on that team who, when she looked long at me, she couldn't resist, and it was Carlene, and we got married. In fact, that's not even true. Actually, the youth group that she was leading teased us both, and gave us a hard time throughout the entire week that I was hosting them and bringing them to places and different events. And every day I'd get on a bus, and the bus would drive them back to their dorms and me back to my house because it was on the way. And they would tease us because we'd sit together and talk, right? And Carolina would tell them to shut up and stuff, and it was a funny scene, right? So on the last day, the bus dropped me off. We said goodbye, and I had taken Carolina's information. We had planned on continuing to contact. I think we liked each other, but we weren't really saying much. It was kind of like we both sort of knew, but we didn't want to admit that because of the social pressure from all the teens that were teasing us constantly, right? So I got off the bus, and just as I got off the bus, one of the ladies from the church who lived right next door to where I was staying pulled up in her car and said, "Hey, did you just get off the bus with the Mexico team?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Hey, hop in, please. We have to go chase that bus." I said, "Why?" My daughter, who was also chumming along with the Mexico team, left her keys on the bus. So what happened was we chased this bus and we hit the brights and we pulled them over, right? And eventually they did pull over. And when I got on she sent me to go up on the bus and find the keys, and her purse was actually just right up there. So I walked up the steps of the bus. Sort of as my head sort of popped up, right? Everyone got quiet on the bus. They looked at me, and then this huge cheer broke out. And I looked for Carolina, and she was hiding under the seat, right? And I didn't know what was going on. So a couple of years went by, and we got married. All right, we stayed in contact, and I went to British Columbia. I finished my school, and all kinds of distance was between us. And we ended up getting married. And during our honeymoon, I asked her, "What happened on the bus? Right, what was that all about?" And she's like, "Yeah, they were teasing me, saying you were going to come back and rescue me." She said that was one of the ways I knew God had sent you, right, as to be my husband, right? Because they were right. They were prophesying he's going to come back for you. You're meant to be, and they were teasing her endlessly, right? So they actually helped bring us together, and we have a cute family now. So I'm kind of married to Mexico, and I didn't get on the mission trips, but I got the best part of it, and I thank God for that. So as time went on, Carlene and I did a number of little trips, personal trips to Mexico doing ministry. I've learned Spanish since. And I did do some short term missions with our church in Halliburton. We took them to Baja California, and we went to a YWAM mission down there. So I've done a lot of I did some missions in Cuba as well. So Hispanic ministry is kind of natural to us now. Carolina, it's a natural fit for her. We met and started doing ministry to uh, newcomers to Canada and farm workers in Niagara. So um, I know that some of you would be interested in this information, so that's why I've kind of made it like this, but it's a edifying testimony. I just want to encourage you that God can give you a seed, and it can turn into something wonderful if you just pursue it. And it's always a process. It's always full of challenges and doubt, but if he put that dream in your heart, he's the one that's going to bring it to pass. So thanks for listening.